Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us today for another series of presentations that we have been bringing you this year. We are Jobg8, the online job board and marketplace job distribution company, and my name is Matt Hoffner. I head up the U.S. and the Canadian operation for Jobg8. On the call, we also have many of our Jobg8 team members from the U.S. and the U.K., including Louise Grant, our European and Australian manager, as well as Robbie Cowling, who is the founder of Jobg8 as well as the chairman of our parent organization, the Aspire Media Group, headquartered just outside of London. The purpose of the Distinguished Leader Forum is to provide unique information to our customers and friends who operate job boards across the world. Hopefully this will be information that challenges you to think a little differently about your own business. We are a unique industry in that although there are many individual job boards in every country around the world, we do share many of the same challenges and opportunities in each market. Our speaker today is Jeff Dickey-Chasins. Jeff is also known as the job board doctor. He has over 17 years of experience in this relatively young industry. He was the original marketing director for Dice, helping to grow it from $7 million in annual sales to $65 million in 3 years. He currently works with clients in the U.S., Canada, and Europe. Jeff will share some information he gathered from a survey he conducted this past summer and some of the implications for job boards to consider during their next planning cycle. Some housekeeping items for the presentation today. Jeff has a PowerPoint presentation that will include a number of polling questions where we will ask you to vote on an issue or a question, and we can then present the results to you in real time. So when prompted, please participate in the polls, and we'll leave them open for about 15 seconds. We have about 100 individuals on the call today representing job board clients and prospects in 8 different countries and 14 different time zones. So we'll mute the phones to prevent some background noise. We also recognize that by the end of our presentation today, we will be approaching 6 p.m. in London. So we will try to keep this to less than an hour, and we think that there will be some time for questions at the end. We will ask you to submit the questions by typing them in via the question tab on the dashboard that you saw when you first signed in to the webinar. If you can submit your questions, you can submit your questions at any time during the webinar today. We'll choose questions at the end to give to Jeff, and we'll get to as many as we possibly can, trying to stay within that hour. Finally, we will be recording this session today, and we'll have it posted on our site within the week, with audio as well as the slides. So as a practice, we're going to try a polling question where we're going to ask you which country you're calling in from today. And could our moderator launch that poll? Do you see that poll? Please click on your response. And we'll show the results. Okay. Thank you. Let me now introduce Jeff, and we'll get started with his presentation. Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Matt, and hello to everyone that's listening to this webinar. I'm looking forward to sharing this information that I have from the survey that we conducted earlier this year, and also interested in talking a little bit about where the job board industry and online recruiting is going and what the implications are for you and your own business. So let's go ahead and get started with taking a look at the landscape. Now, looking at the landscape out there, so basically the world that's outside of the job board industry, because certainly at times you can get a little myopic running your own business, focusing on clients and sort of the here and now. One of the key factors out there is the fact that the recession has continued to drag on. But I guess the good news, and I've seen this from multiple clients as well as various bits of data and statistical information out there, is that we bottomed out and we're seeing some growth in a number of employment sectors. So that's good news. Another factor that's out there is that social media is sexy. And when I say sexy, I mean it's getting a lot of press, a lot of visibility. I mean, you know, how often is it that a channel that can be used as a recruitment channel gets its own movie made about it via the social network? So there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of awareness out there among the audience that we deal with, the recruiters, the human resources folks, and the job seekers. Tied to the recession, there's the fact that there's still a lot of applicants for every job. So in the U.S., they've estimated as much as 5 applicants for every position that's open. That means that you're getting a lot of traffic to your site, but the flip side is that you don't necessarily have the jobs to make those candidates and applicants happy. And conversely, there is a lack of certain types of candidates out there. There's definitely a lack of, in certain sectors, of the types of candidates that employers want. And I think that we're going to see that continue to grow outside of the current sectors into sort of the broader employment market. And finally, and again, this is tied back to the recession, employers continue to be hesitant to staff up. And that has a big ripple effect, not only in terms of candidates, but in terms of our entire industry. Now, let's take a look at the landscape inside the job board world, so sort of the mirror view of what's going on outside. A key factor is the fact that there's a lot of job boards out there, over 100,000 job boards, and even after the recession, we continue to see job boards popping up every day, and I'm sort of on the front lines of that because I'm watching job boards and dealing with people in startup modes, and believe me, if anything, it's increased in activity level over the last 6 months. One result of this is that job posting prices have become commoditized. Certainly the number of job boards is not the only reason. The fact that there's other platforms out there, this has an effect on that, but the bottom line is job posting prices are just not the moneymaker they once were. And honestly, a lot of the job sites out there are behind the curve in terms of technology. If you were to take some time and look at 50 or 100 job sites, and I look at dozens every week, I think you'd be surprised to see how many of them are sort of stuck in the 90s, I guess is the best way to put it. It's an issue for the industry at large, and I think it's going to be an issue in terms of survival for many job sites. As we saw in the outside view, there's more seekers than there are jobs. That's an issue for a job board that depends on keeping seekers as well as employers happy. There's competition from social media. You know, like I said, there's a lot of buzz out there. That buzz extends to job seekers. Job seekers are using social media to try to find jobs and view it as an alternative or another tool in their belt in terms of finding work in addition to job boards. And finally, the aggregators, the Indeeds, the Simply Hireds of the world, have continued to grow, and they've continued to expand their take on the market, and I don't anticipate that stopping. So, what I've been trying to do for the last several years is build up a body of research about the job board industry, a public body of information that's useful to people that are in the industry and people that are consumers of what we provide. And with this survey, one of the things that I wanted to do was break outside of simply talking to the people that work on job boards, the operators, the owners, the employees, and talk to the other two consumers of job boards, job seekers and human resources and recruiting professionals. So this survey was set up so that when people came into the survey, they self-identified, themselves as either a job board employee or operator, a job seeker, or an HR or recruiting professional. And then depending on what they said, it took them off into different tracks. Some of the questions were the same, some questions were different, and attacking similar issues in different ways. We got pretty decent response, and like I said earlier, this was done over a period of 2 months through multiple channels. We had people responding primarily from the US and Canada, but also a decent segment from the UK and Europe. Okay, so when we went to talk to job seekers, so this is the first audience we're going to be looking at, and we asked a job seeker the question, okay, what types of platforms or tools or sites do you currently use in your job search? Not surprisingly, a lot of them said, almost 80% of them said referrals from their friends, their colleagues, company career sites, and social media. So for these job seekers now, social media is definitely real. It's not something that they're tentatively putting their toe in the water in. It's something that's part of their core job search. And then as you'll notice there, general job boards and job search engines are in there, not too far down. Niche job boards are a ways further down, and I think one of the reasons is simply by definition that they are more narrowly defined. And one of the things that niche boards continually struggle with is awareness with job seekers, simply getting the word out. So that was my first takeaway from what the job seeker said. Now on this next slide, we're going to look at something that I guess I could say it seems obvious, except when I talk to people in the industry and outside of the industry, it's not always something that they understand. We ask job seekers, when you look for a job, how many sources are you using? How many job boards are you using? The vast majority of them are using 3 or more boards. From a job board perspective, this is important to know. I mean, it's not a case that you're their only source or even that you're second source. You're going to be one of a batch of job boards that they're using. And so that has marketing implications, and it also has service implications. So that's something to think about. Now we have a polling question, and the question we're asking, and just answer this as I talk, I guess. What attributes does a job seeker see as the most important when evaluating a job board? This is a question we actually asked the job seekers, and so I want to look at what you say, what you think job seekers think, and then we'll look at what job seekers actually said. So ease of use, industry focus, advertising effort and the SEO, SEM plan of the job site, the reputation of the site, or the number of years in business. And again, just pick one, and we'll see what the poll results come out like. And again, this is a question that we ask job seekers, and it's something that when you're doing your internal polling, I think it's important to ask your own seeker base. So number one in terms of what you folks replied as is ease of use with 47%, and then industry focus, and then a ways down below that is reputation and advertising years of business. Okay. Well, we have a correlation here between what you thought and what job seekers thought. When we asked job seekers what influences their decision to use a job board, number one was ease of use. And then number two was the focus of the site, either the industry focus or the professional focus. And then quite a ways down below that, number of jobs, reputation, and so on. I think in previous years, number of jobs might have ranked number one, but I think now that we have this proliferation of job sites and so many different options, job seekers have become a little bit more discriminating about what they're looking for.